Good afternoon, everyone. Please stand. Time to begin our meeting today. Welcome to the Cade Museum for our Rotary Club of Gainesville meeting for this Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. My name is Tom Collette, your Sergeant at Arms. Before we get started, remember, please silence your cell phones. Guests, visiting Rotarians joining us virtually on Zoom, identify yourself in the chat. And if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, send us an email, info@rotarygainesville.org. We begin our meeting as we do with joke, song, and pledge. And here to bring us into the meeting today, please welcome to the podium, Pete Enwall.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, today I have something that this was posted on the entrance to a church in France. I thought it was worthy of a read. When you enter this church, it may be possible that you hear the call of God. However, it is unlikely that He will call you on your cell phone. Thank you for turning your phones off. If you want to talk to God, choose a quiet place and talk to Him. If you want to see Him, send Him a text while you're driving. Those French, I tell you, parlez-vous, Francis. We're going to sing God Bless America today. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside Him and guide here through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairie, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Would you join me in pledging allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pete. Now please remain standing for our invocation today, offered via Zoom by Kevin Thorpe. Kevin.
May we pray. Lord, we are beyond grateful for this privilege to assemble. Thank you for this club and the honor that it brings us as we come together. We thank you especially for today's speaker, our own Mr. Allen. May his words continue to inspire us all to tap into the greatness that exists within us. We thank you in advance for your sake and for your glory. Amen.
If you're visiting us today, please remain standing. Jason Shank has the wireless microphone. He'll bring your way. I don't know about you, but singing that song always gives me chills. Got to sing it Thursday night at Yankee Stadium, and then visiting the 9/11 Memorial the next day, museum. Meant a lot. Let's go over here. Richard, you're up first.
Hey, thank you. Richard Allen, and my guests today include our next door neighbor, Ann Cordell, with the University of Florida Museum of Natural History. Our dear friend Martha Kern, who was with us on the trip to Cambodia, and may be able to answer a couple of questions from anybody that has them. Mm-hmm. And our dear friend Luann Wilson, who is almost went on the trip with us, and but hopefully will be on the trip next time. Thank you. My lovely wife Susan, who's going to be at the microphone with me for the trip.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'd like to introduce again Anthony Trena with Tropical American Timber. Anthony's been here a couple times, prospective member, and he's also come here to see his across the street neighbor, Richard Allen, speak today. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just to demonstrate that going on Rotary activities leads to something and leads to something and leads to something else. At the Women Build site, remember I asked you to donate some food. Marion Colburn stepped up, and Bobby Hall and Susan Maston and I put together a team who delivered lunch to maybe 15 or 20 women builders. And guess what? The president of the board, Cheryl Scott, has asked to attend a meeting, and I was only too happy to bring her along today. Cheryl Scott, President, Habitat for Humanity.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Kent Walker, and I'm really pleased to introduce my guest, retired Dean John Weisty, who is attending with us today. Yeah.
Welcome to all. Now we have two announcements today. First announcement offered by Deborah Newell.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to keep our progress on our Rotary Youth Exchange in front of you all, since many here have helped to continue it with the efforts of that, of interviewing families and interviewing students and all that kind of thing. So we do have our students assigned. I think about a month ago, I advised that we had a young lady coming from Austria. She is not coming. That one is not. She had a sport that she played that was not offered in Gainesville at all, so she is going elsewhere. But we have our two assigned. We have a young man named Serafin Rusher from Austria and a young lady named Jackie Molinar from the Netherlands. So give yourselves a hand, and particularly Bill, Jan, Guy, and other people who have been involved in this process. It's involved and it's fun, and we now have a lot of new friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Now we turn the meeting over to your president. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Greg Young, everyone.
Thank you, Tom. Well, on behalf of today, I'm wearing a special shirt that was given to me, and Sustainable Cambodia shirt, everyone. So I think Richard's sporting one of those as well, as Bill Stasewitz has the other color version. Hello, everyone, and welcome today. I'm so glad you could join us. Announcements. I want to encourage everyone to attend the district assembly or conference if you can. It's going to be in St. Augustine on Friday, May 12th is the assembly. Saturday, May 13th is the conference. You can attend either one. You don't have to attend both. The ones on the Friday, the ones on the Saturday. If you can do both, great. If you can do one, that's fine. You can sign up at that type of level, one day or the other. You can contact me if you have any questions regarding it or any questions about signing up. Also want to make note that Jacob, raise your hand, Jacob. Jacob will be one of the keynote speakers over there based upon the work he's doing over there in South Sudan. Which, by the way, he and I have talked, we've been following the news over in Sudan, and that is not where this project is taking place. That is South Sudan. So that's luckily not in the news over that issue. Well, I'm sorry to hear about Sudan, though, as well. So, on another note, the Friends of Scouting dinner that is being held this Thursday night, Rotary Club of Gainesville purchased a table. We are asking members that want to attend at that table to also pay a certain amount of that fee, although the club paid the lion's share. We just want everybody to put a little something into the kitty. See me if you're interested in attending. We still have a couple of spots left, but they're going fast, so please contact me if you're interested. Thursday night, this Thursday, the Friends of Scouting dinner. And I think I saw Eric here. Eric is going to be Eric, raise your hand. Eric is going to be the keynote speaker over there. We sure seem to have a lot of keynote speakers in this club. I don't know. So on a sadder note, I want to say, you may already know, but Frank Sayre is in hospice. And Frank has been a member since 1982. Some of you may remember he brought Jimmy Carnes into the club years ago because he was an athlete for Jimmy Carnes. Jimmy Carnes came down here from Furman. He really built up our track and field program at UF, and Jimmy passed away a number of years ago. But Frank came as Jimmy's high jumper from Furman. He came, and I believe he set some SEC records back in the day. But anyway, if you know Frank and you want to reach out to him, please do. I'm not sure if he's in home hospice or community hospice, but I'm not sure if anybody knows that. But I'm sorry, he's at home. Okay, thank you. So please contact him if do you know if he's taking calls and such? He said, okay, all right, thank you. Maybe an email or a card. A card would certainly be nice. Our club will send one on the club's behalf as well. Well, I think that's all I have to announce at this point. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce today, we have two speakers. We have Miss Susan Maston and Mr. Richard Allen. And I will say that since 2004, Susan and Richard have developed and led the unique empowerment model that is Sustainable Cambodia. This not-for-profit has helped tens of thousands of Cambodian men, women, and children to improve the quality of their lives. Richard and Susan have partnered with Rotary during this time and have brought the power of Rotary to bear in broadening the reach of this wonderful organization. And now I'd like to bring up Richard and Susan.
Thank you, everyone. And Susan, do you want to say anything to get us started? You can tell how prepared we are for that.
We are prepared. Richard has had so much fun bringing the experience to you in photos. And we hope that if you see an activity or information from a photo that you'd like to know more about, please keep that question, because that's the fun of sharing this day, is to see what's interesting to you and where you're curious and how we can help you experience that.
So we've talked a lot in the past about Sustainable Cambodia and the principles on which it's founded. Today, I'll spend about a minute overviewing those because most of you have all heard that before. What we're going to do after that is take you on the trip. We would like to have each and every one of you sign up and go on the trip with us. We had about 90 people in total split over the 2 trips on these last 2 trips that we took in January and February. Rotarians from all over the world, but including Martha over at our table over there. And we've and they're just incredibly great trips. Elena, unfortunately, is at the University of Florida today running some grant program and isn't able to be here. She actually gets credit for 90% of the slides and the photos that you're going to see. They're just beautiful. Just in real quick overview of Sustainable Cambodia, as Greg mentioned, and as you all know, it's an empowerment program. We've started this based on the fundamental principle that you don't want to go do something for somebody. You want to help them learn how to do it themselves and empower them to do it themselves. So it's all based on empowerment, and it's also based on pass on. So from the kids and the youth clubs over there to the village families, everybody has a pass on element where they pass it on to either other students or they pass it on to their community, or the village families help other village families in new villages learn how to do what they have done. So those 2 things are really the fundamental underpinnings of this, and they're an embodiment of Rotary, right? I mean, it's an embodiment of service above self, and we're guided by the 4-way test in everything we do. And so this model basically just rotates around. It just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger in this empowerment model, and it creates truly sustainable change. You'll get to see that when you're on site with us. And I think with that, what we're going to do is start the trip. So just imagine that you are flying across the ocean. It's a very, very short trip. Maybe 30 hours. I didn't say 30 hours. No, it's about a 30-hour flight in total from here. You'll spend about maybe 14 or 15 hours in your longest flight, a few hours in the airport, and then another 6 or 7 hours and a couple of other stops. But eventually you will land, well, next slide, you will eventually land in Cambodia. And as probably everybody knows, Cambodia is kind of in between Thailand and Vietnam. We fly into the city of Phnom Penh, which is the capital. And from there, you will be met by one of the local modes of transportation. We'll typically have a tuk-tuk for you. The little tuk-tuks are, you can see them being pulled there by the moto, and we'll load up your suitcases on it. And we'll drive through Phnom Penh, through the city streets with all the rest of the tuk-tuks and the motos. And eventually we will get to the entrance of our hotel, and then you'll walk down a little alley to get into the entrance of the hotel. And the hotel is actually called the OK Hotel. It's very Cambodian, yeah. It's an English word. It must be great. It's the OK Boutique Hotel. But it's actually quite beautiful, as you can see. From there, we're going to go around and do some sites in Phnom Penh itself before we get out into the rural villages. We'll spend a couple of days doing this. You'll get to go to the Royal Palace. It's got beautiful gardens and beautiful buildings. This is a shot of one of our, either the January or the February trip. I don't know which. You'll also get to go to the museum if you'd like, but certainly street life, local cuisine. You can see some of the local cuisine along there. We don't necessarily recommend that you do the local cuisine, but but sometimes there are people that are adventurous that do. And however, there's also really nice dining. This is a little restaurant that's right on the river in Phnom Penh, and often we'll go there on the first or second night. And also visit the Central Market. The Central Market is very big. It's also got the kind of traditional booths around the outside, so you can just buy everything you can possibly imagine at the market, including the one shot there is, I think, watches. Is that watches? Or yeah, it's watches. Yep. And then we will also visit the Killing Fields, which is a memorial to everything that occurred during the Khmer Rouge genocide. And this is it's a somber time, but what you'll get to experience when you're there, it's actually done with a lot of solitude and quiet. They have little speakers or little earphones you can put in, and you'll be able to listen to somebody telling you the stories of the survivors and stories of guards who kind of unwittingly were participants in it. All of them telling you their personal stories. And it's a real, it's a difficult experience, but it's one that's really valuable in really understanding what happened during the Khmer Rouge experience. So then coming out of that, we want to remind everybody that this isn't about the past, that this is about the future. And so that's where we get to then move on to a dinner that we hold with the scholarship students from the little rural villages who you will eventually meet. As you go out into those villages, you'll meet the young kids. They grow up, they graduate grade 12, they get an opportunity for a scholarship in Cambodia, and many of them go to universities in Phnom Penh, and we will gather with them. You'll sit around the table with them, having conversations one-on-one, and some of them will get up and speak about their experience. This one in particular, Susan, do you want to tell this? So this young student tells this incredibly moving story about how her life has been what many of us would consider to be really, really difficult. Growing up in the village, I think she just had her mother or grandmother raising her, and yet at the end of this, of course, now she's a student in university, and she said, "I can live without many things, but I can't live without hope." And it's just an incredible experience to get to have her tell you that directly. So that's our last night in Phnom Penh. And at this point, we all go back to the hotel. We get ready for the morning. We're going to, in the morning, get loaded up on one of those buses. You can see we'll have either 2 or 3 of those little buses. Will be maybe 15 or 16 of us on each of those buses. And that's we're going to drive out into the rural villages. And it's a good 4-hour drive, I guess, for us to get out into the rural part of the country. And when we get there, you get off the bus. You look a little worse for wear maybe, but actually the bus drive is a great experience because you get to bond with people, all these Rotarians you get to bond with in ways that you would, never do. And people from all over the world, you'll get to meet some of them on this trip. We have them from Africa, from Canada, from across Australia, from across the United States. We've had Hungarians on the trip before, India on this trip. You really get to bond. When you get off, we will wind up going to the first of the schools. This is a really remarkable experience that I hope all of you get a chance to experience firsthand. You'll step off and you'll get to walk into this celebration ceremony that's all put together by the youth club, by the 11th and the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. Many of them will be wearing native costumes and the like.
This is
Bobby Hall's student.
He is amazing human being.
Yeah, sponsored by Bobby Hall. And I think this might actually, so you get to see, this is a little bit of what takes place. You'll get to participate in some of the dancing with the kids. It's really sweet. And then the whole youth club, the youth club runs the whole program. So they'll get up and they'll speak to us, and it's just beautiful. These kids are so amazingly grateful and inspired and pure of heart. It's just really beautiful to be part of it. The youngsters get up and they've been learning Cambodian dance with one of the dance teachers at the school. So you'll get to really adorable. And then there's an exchange that takes place between the students and the Rotarians, with little school books and things that are passed back and forth. And then you'll spend a few hours just intermingling on the site. This is a Rotarian from New York, Kevin, and he's a PDG, I think. And that's just kind of the enraptured moment that you get when you're there surrounded by the kids. These are some additional shots from the last trip. And there's Martha. Hi, Martha. And then there's a big exchange that we'll do, and we'll do this at each of the schools that we'll go to. Everybody will have taken in your luggage as much as you can stuff into your luggage in the way of school supplies and that kind of thing, and library books. And then those all get laid out and contributed. And you can see that in Mass, we bring a lot of library books and a lot of school supplies. And these things will last for years. Oh, that's right. And also we bring a lot of materials for the Days for Girls program, which is that incredible program. We are the Sustainable Cambodia is now the micro enterprise for Cambodia for Days for Girls, which helps girls to get through their menstrual periods and be sure that they're able actually to stay in school during their menstrual cycles. We have bike pass-ons. When we're there, we'll typically raise money. It's $45 for a bike, and one of the Rotarians will stand up and go, hey, I'd like to contribute 2 bikes. Who'll join me? And the next thing you know, 3 days later, we'll have a bike pass-on like this. These kids, and like I also described Youth Club. This is one of the speakers from Youth Club. The youth clubs are all based on Rotary. They're based on the 4-way test. They're based on the rotating leadership model of Rotary. And and they do community service and they do school service projects and they do all of the organization for these trips when we take the trips over there. It gives you a feel for, those are all the youth club members at this one particular school. Each of the schools has a youth club. And it's not all being out in the villages. This is at the little hotel that we stay at in Posat in the middle of the country. And you'll have gatherings with the Rotary Club of Posat there and just, general lunches. This is a dinner, so we've actually got table spreads. And this is what Posat looks like at night. There's on the river, they've built something called the boat, and it's an area for the community to be able to gather at night and just have fun together. And it's really pretty. It's lit up with a bunch of lights. So yeah, the memo here is always remember to bring Aussies on the trip with you. One of the Australians on the last trip decided to organize a beer tasting contest. So they went to all the local markets and bought every available type of beer and brought back beer for everybody. And we all had little ranking sheets, score sheets, and we would score them on this and score them on that. And I can't believe how many people voted for the wrong beer. But it's just an ABC beer, right? So it's just an example of the incredible fun that you wind up having on these trips. This is our Crevine, this is another school that you'll visit, the Crevine Bright Futures School, a Sustainable Cambodia school. A bunch of kids there again, and a kind of repetition of the same thing. We'll have school supplies, we'll have bike giveaways. You'll get to meet here, because this school is even more remote than the other school, so we actually have a dormitory for the girls so that they can come back and forth on the weekend and visit their homes, but they get to stay at the dormitory during the week. And they're incredibly sweet. They'll take you around and show you everywhere that they stay, the way they cook and all that. You'll see Rotary projects, like this one is a school water filtration program or project that Rotary clubs have installed. You get to just meet hands-on these amazing kids and be part of this. Which one is this? I'm having a hard time reading that. Oh yeah, this is just one of the primary schools. So you'll also visit some of the primary schools that are out in the villages, where you'll get to go into the classrooms and be part of the classrooms and meet the kids and meet the teachers. Real personal one-on-one experience. This is a particular project that our Rotary clubs have put together, which is a hand washing system in a big latrine for the or a big washroom for all the kids to be able to wash their hands and go to the bathroom. And this is a kind of a typical village family meeting. You'll wind up meeting the village families that are part of the village development groups that are the ones that are running the whole empowerment program in the villages, getting water wells in, getting biosand filters in, getting community ponds and latrines. These are the village families that organize all of that and do much of the hard work behind it with our support. And so you'll get a chance to interact with them, and it's very celebratory. You'll wind up drinking coconuts and just basically having a really great time with them. And again, really, really one-on-one experiences. You get to just meet these people and look them in the eye and be part of this. You also get to experience things like riding on walk-behind tractors. This is kind of fun. This is one of the implements that's used, one of the instruments that's used a great deal out in the villages. Rooftop rainwater harvesting tanks. You'll see a lot of these. Our club and all of our clubs together put in many of these rooftop rainwater harvesting tanks that help the families to get through the dry seasons. We make them ourselves, right? They're made at the Sustainable Cambodia facility. Biosand filters, we make those. They're built out of concrete. We've made more than 2,000 of those. I think more than 2,500 now. Agriculture, you'll see this all over. You'll actually start when you go to the villages, you'll tour first to a village that's called a beginner village, a village that hasn't yet started putting in one of the programs, but is ready to. They've been doing some training, some talking with other villages that are graduate villages about it. They're ready to go, but it's like the Stone Age. They don't have anything. Then you'll go meet a village that's in the process, like a year or two in. Then you'll go to a village like this one, where it's a graduate village. It's 5, 6, 7 years outside of the program. It's completely running independently, sustainably now. And the agriculture is gorgeous. The families have beautiful gardens. It's just, it's like an oasis. So that's some of what you'll get to experience. Then it depends on what you bring on the trip with you as to what you get to share. On this particular trip, Martha's husband is a doctor, is an MD, and we had a physical therapist with us on the trip as well. And the two of them went off and did some medical trips with a few families that have really specific cases that they needed help with. And then you'll also, if you want, those who want to do it, get to do some hands-on work. You can either work doing biosand filters, helping to build biosand filters, so you get a feel for how those are made, or being able to, or working on building those rooftop rainwater harvesting tanks. And then you'll also be able to eat. And the food is actually pretty good, especially at lunchtime. We get to go to the Malapsvai restaurant, which is our favorite restaurant in the Posat area. And it's all outdoor eating, but it's actually really good food. And everybody has a good time there. So once we've done that, now that was in the middle of the country, right? And we were all in those rural villages and all that. Now we're going to wrap up the trip with a trip to Angkor Wat in a town called Siem Reap. It's up towards the Thai border. And as you can see, we're going to do another, this is about a 5-hour trip, I think, that goes up around that big lake. And you'll wind up in Siem Reap. And when you get off at Siem Reap, you get off the bus again. It's a long bus ride. But you get off the bus and you'll get to visit Angkor Wat. It is, as probably everybody knows, one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's huge. I mean, it is, people don't realize that it is many, many, many different, not monasteries, what's the word? Temples, similar to the one that you see behind us there. This is one of the most famous, but there are many, many of those around an area that is as big as Alachua County. So you can spend days there, but we just spend 2 days touring these. And there's a lot of steps involved. So a lot of going up and down on some of these, but the stories in these, it's kind of a mix of Hindu and Buddhist culture that was behind these things being built. And so the exploration of this is a lot of fun. And it's something that many of us have never had a chance to experience in our lives. We also go to rat demining. There's an organization in Siem Reap that has helped with the demining effort across Cambodia, where there are just tens of thousands of mines that have been planted over the years. And they use these African rats, which are actually really adorable. They're about this big. They're kind of like little baby possums with really cute long tails. So their tails are much nicer than possum tails. And they're trained really well to be able to detect up to 4 meters deep in any buried explosive at all. And because they're so small, unlike a dog that would set the mine off, they never set a mine off. All they do is just they go through and mark it. So then the demining people can go through and demine deactivate the mine. And I think we'll actually see this little tyke in action here. There she is. She's moving around. She's a good girl. She's gonna find a little. They bury some little explosive residue out there in certain areas so that you can see when she comes to it that she'll scratch, and mark the place. So really, really cute. We'll also get a chance to visit the museums there, and then we can also visit the floating village in Siem Reap, which is really lovely. You can spend you went there, Martha. I think you spent the better part of a day. Really, really nice experience. So, this whole day has been really to date has really been about taking you on the trip with us in these slides so that you'll sign up and go on the trip with us in real time. Of all the Rotarians that we have going on this, I just want to put it out there. I think the average age is probably lower 70s on the trip. We certainly have a number of people on every trip that are in their mid 80s. So this isn't something that's going to be age prohibitive. We also have youngsters on the trip. We had on this last trip a young, maybe was he 12, maybe 12 or 14, the youngest boy? Yeah, and several teenagers. So it's also a great experience to take grandkids on or to take kids on. Elena has put together this little final slide deck, which I think we're just going to run and let this kind of run through. And I'm going to invite Susan to come up to the microphone, and we're going to be taking any questions and giving anybody anything you'd like to know. Yamame is from Ghana in Africa. And this is a daughter and mother together from the Salt Lake area. Charlie. Elena's good with these slides, isn't she? And that's actually really cute. They take the little rat around, and everybody can hold the rat if you'd like. That's Jennifer Scott in the middle. She's a PDG from Australia. So again, the invitation is everybody go to our website or tell us about it and just tell us that you'd like to be on the list. Doesn't mean you're committed. It just means that when we get ready to go on the trips, we'll let you know about them. There's going to be a trip in November and one in January and one in February. And Bill, I know you're going to go on the next one because he actually signed up and was going on the last one, paid to go on the whole trip, and then just donated the money to the whole project because you had to be in Japan and Australia instead, I think, right? But he's going to go on the next one. All right, Martha, and we have to use the microphone because we're on Zoom, so everybody needs to be able to hear your answer. Okay, so questions?
Oh, great. 10 days.
We need the question for Zoom, so they'll know what.
Yeah, Jason has the mic. If you can wait for the mic to get to him.
I asked how long the trip lasted. 10 days.
It's 10 days. Many people choose to link it with the next step of a trip. Vietnam is right there. There are other places. Some folks actually went over to Japan, but it's an opportunity after you've been on the plane for 30 hours, you may want to hang out in Southeast Asia for a while. Actually, Richard and I have rarely done that. We are eager to get right on site, as you can imagine. But if you have questions really about the experience for the first time of being on the trip, Martha would be a great source for you.
So I actually just have more of a comment in the history. I remember when I first heard about this in the club, you guys were putting in the wells, helping get wells in villages. And then that really opened up the ability for people to do other things besides collect water all day. So if you want to hit on that a little bit about the history of how this started.
Sure. So one great day in our early visits to be part of Cambodia, Richard and I went back into one of the nearby villages to be part of those gatherings you've seen in the photos. You put down a big mat and we all sit down together. Richard and I stay way far away so that that our team brings the voice and is that connection It's often that the meetings are in Khmer, their language. So it's great. We can be out with the little children and really support our team to make those connections. So one particular day, we went to our first big village meeting, and we thought when we asked about their highest needs that wells would absolutely be at the top of the list. But rather than that, one of the local women stood up to say, what we need more than anything is childcare, because we need our children to be in a safe and nourishing and learning environment while we go work side by side with our husbands. And that is the question that launched our whole preschool program. The preschool program launched our nourishing morning meal program, and the whole opportunity to educate these mothers about dark leafy green and bright orange vegetables and the gift of that. That was not familiar information for them, that a young child would benefit from that type of food. So things just become and grow. That's one of the beautiful parts of this learning experience. We just step up and learn right beside them.
Question over here. I know that for when you first started, and I think for every year that you've been doing this, one of the conditions of helping a village is that they must go out and help another village after they get started. Mm-hmm. So over the years, how many villages would you say you've impacted around numbers?
Yeah, we are around 30 villages in total. And all of the village development work gets done through Rotary grants. So the schools are all supported through the sponsorship program, scholarship program, that kind of thing. The actual wells, sanitation, agriculture, all that village development work that you're describing is all done under global grants. So Rotary is just huge. I mean, none of it would have happened without Rotary. Each individual club contributes to, or each individual Rotarian can contribute to one of those global grants. And then those are matched at the district level. And then at the Rotary Foundation level, they match what the district matches. So we have a global grant right now that's being organized, and we'll probably have it approved and started by July, the beginning of July, which is a $220,000 grant. It's going to run over about a 2.5-year period. In that 2.5-year period, it will convert those beginning villages to villages that are ready to become graduate villages. It's about 3 villages. That's typically what we do under a global grant. So we've had 5 global grants, or is this the 6th maybe? We've had 5, so this is the 6th global grant coming up. So hence the approximately 30, we're getting up there by the number of villages that get impacted by each of the grants. Yeah, thanks, Pete.
Sure. So again, I'm Martha Kern. I'm actually a past Rotarian, but my life has shifted over the past couple years.
Future Rotarian.
There we go. My husband and I have known Richard and Susan for probably over 15 years. I'm not quite sure how long. And as many of you may have, we've dabbled in Sustainable Cambodia. We went to an auction, we bought some of the, textile goods. We would sponsor a child, a student. And every year we got the email about the trip, and we're like, oh, we got to do that. We're gonna do that one of these times. I mean, it's not gonna work this year because we've got this thing, and work's really busy with this thing. And last year, I don't remember, maybe June or July when that email came around, and I think the pandemic had shed some light on our mindset, and it came through, and we said, when are we gonna go? If we don't sign up, we're never gonna go. If we don't sign up, and because it's not a good year, when is it actually a good time? When does it feel like there's 2 gaps, a 2-week gap in your schedule? So I encourage you, even if there's not a gap in your schedule, sign up. The worst thing you can do is, end up in Japan on on business arrangements and make a really nice donation, which, by the way, isn't even that large for the cost of the trip. In terms of the trip itself, what struck me the most was, in the beginning, the history lesson of the Khmer Rouge, of Pol Pot, of what the country has experienced, both internal and external. I was aware of these things, but it's different to talk to survivors and be in the place where things happened. And the most remarkable thing is in talking to people, the Cambodians who lived there who were involved in many ways. They had family members killed. They had family members who were part of the regime or might have been soldiers. And the Cambodians were just absolutely at peace. So I was really upset having just experienced these feelings for the first time being there. And there's no baggage, there's no animosity. I feel like as a people, as a country, as Rotary, we can learn and take from that if you can have that kind of grace in accepting and moving forward with your own history and figuring out what's next. That was the most remarkable thing. On a much more fun note, yes, I held one of the rats, and the group of people that we got to know very well checked me before I walked out because they were a little worried I was going to take a rat with me, because we are very animal-centric people. But it was one of those trips, and it's cliche to say, but it was life-changing. We feel like different people being back. We look at our surroundings, and we're grateful in a way that we just weren't before. And seeing how far dollars go. And sometimes that's, the hotel room that was, what, $50 a night or less. $45 or less, with wonderful accommodations. And sometimes it's knowing that sponsoring a child is life-changing, not to that child, but to their immediate family members and community as well. So dollars go really, really far, but that's because it's a very poor country. So please think about whatever it is that you're doing and doing a little more. And if you're putting it off, ask why.
Yes,
Martha was an assistant governor with Rotary, so they can speak eloquently. Thank you.
I have one question. Prasad was your first village, correct?
But Passat, yeah, the town of Passat is actually where we hub from, but the villages are actually out around Passat, and Passat's an entire province. It's one of the larger provinces.
Well, I was just wondering how much of the economy that we saw as the wealth of their nightlife island boat is a result of the work that Sustainable Cambodia has been doing.
It's a really sweet thought. I wish I could say that we had that much of an impact on the economy in the town of Passat. I would say that we do not. I think what you're seeing there is that there's been an influx of South Korean money and then an influx of Chinese money into the country in general. And a combination of that plus tourism has helped the country in general to do better. And so the people that live in the towns are doing much better than they used to. The city of Phnom Penh, when you go to Phnom Penh, 20 years ago, it was like a bombed out relic of a city. Now it's vibrant. It's beginning to look like a miniature Singapore. So the country is doing better in those areas, and I wish we could take credit for that, but we can't. But out in those villages, what a huge difference. Huge difference. Yeah.
For example, Michael's student, Patty, whom he sponsored for all the way through high school and college, now has a wonderful job in the transportation department. And he came over to say hello to us. In fact, I think, Michael, did you see that photo? That's just amazing. This wonderful grown young man coming in to share his stories with us. And that's part of the story that just is so moving for us, this continuation of well-being. And that's a part of the pass on too, in generationally. So thank you, all of you. Thank you for everybody in the room for taking your heart interest in this big shared experience. Rotary is hugely in the heart of it.
And this club
yeah.
is you are the origin of it all. Everything that you see there wouldn't have happened without this club.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is amazing what Rotary can do when you get people together that want to help affect the world in a positive way. So, because of the work you've done and because you've been such an inspiration to our club, I want to award you with a certificate, Susan and Richard, today for it is for a donation to the Cade Foundation, or Cade Fund, I should say, for scholarship money for at-risk children that will be able to attend some of the workshops here. The Cade has a fund for that. We're just contributing in addition to what they already do. The Cade does so much for the community. Jenna, and by the way, Jenna, I don't know if it's been announced, but you're the new Chief Operating Officer here at the Cade. So round of applause. But yes, we're so fortunate to have you in the community and what you're doing, and to have you in the world. So and good stories there. By the way, thank you. Yes. Okay. Let's see, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And please bring your guest next week to hear our next week's speaker, which will be UF Professor Steve Antone. He's from the UF College of Physiology and Aging. He was speaking with us about lifestyle approaches for healthy living, aging. So, quote of the day: how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. I know that's a quote is often quoted, supposedly from an unknown source. By the way, when do you think we could get an okay hotel here in Gainesville, Richard? And we were talking over there, the Crud beer, we saw there was one called Crud. I don't think any of us want to try that one. Oh my, they need a new marketing campaign, I'm sorry. So anyway, with that, I will get to the raffle number, and the last three digits are 481, and with that, we are adjourned.